Mike Perlman here with the Birdhouse and the one, the Nikon One. Is this camera all that Ashton Kutcher says it is in his commercials? Find out after this intro. The Nikon One series cameras represents the company's brand new mirrorless fleet, and it's represented by the J1, which is more entry level, and the V1, which is for advanced shooters. Now Olympus, Panasonic, Sony, and Samsung have been at this for a few years now, so I was a little concerned for the little J1. But have no fear, this camera did exceptionally well. What we're dealing with here is a brand new sensor type pioneered by Nikon. It's the 1-inch CX type sensor, and this is slightly smaller than the micro 4/3 cameras like the Olympus EPM1 and the Panasonic GF3. Naturally, with any new sensor or size or format, we have new lenses that join the party, but have no fear. If you have a drawer full of Nikon F-mount series lenses, DX lenses, there is a special FT1 mount for the Nikon One cameras that will allow you to throw that 600mm telephoto lens on, and that is pretty badass. So, did the lens and the sensor work well together? Well, for image quality on the Nikon J1, I was very impressed. I came in a bit concerned for this camera, knowing that I've already seen the Olympus, I've already seen Panasonic, what Panasonic has to offer, and that's really tough competition. The J1 really kicks some booty. Even though this camera has a slightly smaller sensor than the EPM1, I feel that both cameras were matched in many situations, and the ISO performance, the high ISO performance on the J1 was spectacular. The J1 also has a great movie mode. It has 1080 60i HD video, 1080 30p video, and it also has 720 60p video, so that's a pretty versatile range. There's also slow motion at 400 frames per second and 1200 frames per second, but the resolution is so small it's like a little stick of gum. Video quality was very good in bright light, though I could have used a little more sensitivity in low light. The camera did perform really well. So overall image quality with the Nikon One J1, tantamount, if not a slight edge over its micro 4/3 competitors. Now you've probably seen Ashton Kutcher acting all suave and debonair over this thing on TV. Well, it is pretty sexy when you look at it. It's very sleek and minimalist, and it has this cute little flash that pops up and looks like the Dianoga monster from Star Wars. External controls are fairly limited on the Nikon J1. There's no hot shoe, unlike on the EPM1, and that's a pretty big disadvantage, especially if you want to add a more powerful flash or if you want to add a microphone, an external microphone. We just have this circular dial that also doubles as a 4-way directional pad. There's a tab in back that's for setting shutter speed and some other controls in addition to zooming and playback. We have an autofocus and auto exposure lock button in the back as well. So for the most part, this camera is very simplistic on the outside. Rather than external controls like the Nikon One V1, the J1 concentrates on its color palette. It has a nice spicy pink that will have girls doing backflips. In addition, the camera does not have a huge tool belt on the inside either. For manual controls, we have quality controls rather than quantity. For instance, the J1's 73-point phase detection autofocus is pretty awesome. It works exceedingly fast, one of the quickest systems I've ever used. In addition, this camera is pretty darn quick. It can capture up to 10 frames per second at full resolution, and it is blazing. For manual controls, we have a shutter speed that goes down to 30 seconds with a bulb mode. There's also ISO of up to 6400, and the lenses I shot with had pretty accurate vibration reduction. But if you're looking for fun art modes and a gaggle of scene modes, you're not going to find it on the J1. You'll find it on cameras like the Olympus EPM1 and Panasonic's micro 4/3 cameras, but not on the J1. This camera really does not have a lot of that. It's got active D-lighting, it's got picture control with vivid and neutral and monochrome, those things, but don't expect any bells and whistles on the inside. The J1 does, however, have excellent controls in video mode. I could set the shutter speed, the ISO, the aperture. It's just really one of the best video modes in the mirrorless circuit. So what's the bottom line with the Nikon One J1? Ashton Kutcher's white stormtrooper. I'll tell you something. It's sleek, it's sexy, it's minimalist, and it specializes in quality manual controls and quality image performance. So who is the Nikon 1J1 for? It is for beginners looking to expand their knowledge on photography, looking to break into the interchangeable lens system circuit, and it's also for the ladies. Because of the colors and the design, I was mobbed by girls everywhere I went with this camera. They didn't care about me, all they cared about was this camera and Ashton Kutcher. So what's the Buffalo call on the Nikon 1J1? It's a good one. Check the full review at technobuffalo.com for my image samples, video samples, and more in-depth analysis. But the bottom line is, it's a gosh darn good camera. This has been Mike Perlman for Techno Buffalo. I'll see you guys later.